I'm Carol Cohn, and welcome to Purpose 360, the podcast that unlocks the power of purpose to ignite business and social impact. Every so often, you meet a leader whose career seems to have been preparing them for one extraordinary mission. Well, today's guest is one of those people. Joining me is Sharlene Kemler. She started her career at the Peace Corps, then went to Ben & Jerry's and worked at Burton's Snowboards and at Viacom. And in each one, she learned such extensive new insights to being an amazing professional, to solving problems of the people her organizations were serving. Well, today, as CEO of the Loveland Foundation, she's bringing those experiences to one of the defining social issues of our time, mental health. Across virtually every major study, including many of our own, mental health ranks as the number one social issue facing our society today. Yet, for women and girls of color, access to quality care remains deeply unequal. There's cost, availability, cultural understanding, and trust in therapists and the therapy process itself. Those all continue to create barriers. Well, the Loveland Foundation is working to change that, not simply by funding therapy, but by strengthening the entire ecosystem of mental health care. In her conversation, Sharlene shares a compelling vision for lasting generational change. When BIPOC women and girls get the mental health care that they need, they become stronger, they become more confident, they become more resilient. And in terms of her vision, she invests not only in those seeking care, but also, this is so important, also in the therapists and future mental health professionals who make that critical care possible. You can see how excited I am about this conversation. So whether you lead corporate purpose, philanthropy, sustainability, employee engagement, or simply believe that business can be a tremendous force for generational change and for good overall, this conversation will leave you with so many practical insights and genuine inspiration. So let's get started. So welcome to the show, Sharlene.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So I always love to start with my guest, which is a brief introduction of yourself and really looking back, even when you were a child, what did you learn from your parents? Many of our guests were very much molded in their youth, as I was. So I'd love to hear a little bit about that because you have a fascinating, really, career arc.
Really, it stems from my mom. I'm first generation, and my mom is from Trinidad and Tobago, and that's where my family is from. And I split my time between Trinidad and the United States growing up. But one of the things I really loved and learned from my mom was the importance of having a community and community support. And one of the things that I always remembered in the back of my head was my first experience of philanthropy was through her. It's a very random experience, but it was through my mom. And one of the things I was raised growing up in was in West Indian households, there's something called a susu. So it's groups of people who come together and they put a pot of money. So each person says, I'm going to give $100. And at the end of that month, one person in that group gets to take home that pot of money. And each person gets that pot each month. That's how my mom actually paid for all of my summer activities, all of my tutoring. And it was a beautiful thing that I understood the collective power of giving. And that really kind of ushered into my career, whether it had been going into Peace Corps and doing international development work there, but then also moving into Ben & Jerry's and doing social cause marketing there, and then moving to Viacom and working at MTV and still doing cause marketing too, but on the nonprofit side of things. It's one of those things that I've always been able to see the collective power of individuals and what we can do. And I think that's always been my joy. And it was such a beautiful thing that I said, that's the world I want to live in. That's the world I want to continue living in.
And you've done it so well. I mean, the organizations you've mentioned, they're all gold standard, and we'll get into a little bit of, especially your Ben and Jerry's background. But you brought up the word joy, and in our prep, you said that some of your colleagues at the Loveland camp event gave you a nickname. What was that nickname?
So for every biannual, we do a Camp Loveland for our therapist, and our therapist gave me the name of the Joy Guru. They said, that's who you are, Sharlene. You understand how to bring out everyone's inner joy. And that is something I hold dearly. And I take a lot of pride in that I'm able to bring that joy for folks.
And I think this is a first for Purpose 360. We've never had a joy guru on the show. So I'm very excited about that. So let's pause because people really don't know the Loveland Foundation. So why don't you tell us the story of the founding of the organization and then about its mission, and then we'll carry on.
So this actually all stemmed from our amazing founder, Rachel Cargill. She had this experience in therapy, her first time actually having insurance and money to actually experience therapy the first time. When she walked out of therapy, she felt like she was on cloud nine. The feeling that she felt, everyone should have this feeling. They have the access to it, they should have this feeling. So for her birthday, she decided, I'm going to do a birthday fundraiser, and I'm going to raise funds to be able to provide therapy sessions, cover the cost of therapy sessions for Black women in need. And in 48 hours, she really was able to raise well over $250,000. And that we were like, oh, that's great. This is amazing. But our first cohort, we had to be very strategic about it. And really how that ended up happening was we were able to do a landscape analysis and really see where are the needs out there. Because starting up something new isn't always necessarily the answer to every problem. I'm a firm believer if someone's out there doing something amazing and phenomenal and great with it, partner with them. That's sustainability. Partner with them. So that's what we did. We partnered with large therapy directory partners nationwide because we knew we wanted this to be a national organization, and brought them in with large BIPOC therapy directory partners. But one of the things we were noticing during our landscape analysis was that there were so many programs out there for younger adults. There were programs for Black men, Hispanic men, but there wasn't really that many programs out there that was focusing on mental health, particularly for Black women. So that was the gap that we saw. And we knew this, if we built it correctly, we can actually be able to destigmatize mental wellness and provide more access to folks to therapy support. And that's what the Loveland Foundation has been able to do for the last 6 years, is really try to destigmatize mental wellness, provide access to therapy sessions for those in need, but also support the ecosystem of the mental wellness ecosystem with our therapists. Because at the end of the day, they are our DNA and we need them.
And so you've reimagined mental health care through an entire ecosystem for Black women. That is a very sophisticated approach. You're not just saying we're going to advocate for, or we're going to provide a few scholarships for. I mean, you surround, the entire system.
So when we really were building out the Loveland Foundation, what we wanted to do was create a different ecosystem in a nonprofit setting. We wanted to do it in a way where the community felt like we were listening to their voice, that we were taking their input and putting it back out. Everything that you see that we built on the Loveland Foundation side, which you can website to find out more, every single one of our programming was built with the feedback of our participants and our therapists. And the reason why we are able to get that real feedback is because when we were releasing, and we gave 12 vouchers per participant in our program, but we released them in increments of 4.
Now, what's in a voucher? Is that tell us what that is?
Yeah. So the voucher basically is the amount that we will cover per therapy session. So we will cover $120 per therapy session, and it goes through our portal system, and it's a voucher number that our therapist submits in, and we pay them out that way. And within those vouchers, as we do it, it's increments of 4 that they release. When they request for their next set of vouchers, we ask them, both the therapist and the participant, quick question. And then we're tracking them too to see, is this working? Are the sessions working? We know it's working because one of the things our therapist kept telling us through these feedbacks was, hey, Sharlene, that first cohort you guys had, that pilot cohort, 4 therapy sessions is not enough for that generational change you want to see. 8 to 12. I said, okay. We went up to 8. We only got to 8. Overwhelmingly, all the therapists came back to me and said, hey, Char, love that you guys went up to 8, but 12 is that magic number for that generational change you want to see. We went up to 12. Now our therapists say, thank you. You listened.
Oh, that's so fabulous.
And I think that's what sets us apart from everyone else is that we truly do have that real-time feedback. And I said, we want to hear from our therapists, what can we do better? Because they are the ones that we look to for guidance. But we also want to hear from our participants, what can we continue to do better? What do you want to see so that you are getting exactly what you are asking for versus people assuming what you want? And I think that's what sets us apart.
They must be surprised by the level of sophistication of how you present yourself.
Oh, yeah, we get a lot of surprises. A lot of folks they're like, but you're so small. You guys are so small, but how are you doing so much? And I always say, because we're not reinventing the wheel. We decided to partner with organizations. We decided that in order for us to reach on a nationwide level, we couldn't be in an isolated bubble on ourselves. But we also realized if we want to create a change within the mental wellness ecosystem, it can't be in isolation. It must be through partnerships. And I think that's really when we're talking with corporations and showing them the numbers, because even so, like as an organization that's only been around for 6 years, we've spent over $13 million directly to BIPOC therapists and therapy sessions. And so I think for them, they're able to see it, the impact we're able to have. And I think for some people, it's being able to see the numbers. And I think I'm a data nerd. And I think at the end of the day, we can dance around different issues, different causes, but at the end of the day, numbers don't lie. So if we're showing you that folks are showing up for this and are utilizing it, why would we ever cut it off?
Yeah. That's very, very well structured and very thoughtful and sophisticated. Why is culturally competent care so essential for the success of both the foundation, but more so your recipients?
Culturally competent care is important for our participants because one of the things we wanted to do was create a soft landing space. Entering into therapy sometimes may seem for some folks a challenge. And that first step is really hard, especially if it's something you're not used to and you've never been exposed to. We want you to feel like you got to do a great exhale and felt like you got supported in that exhale.
How do people find you?
A lot of our participants find us through our therapy directory partners, through our social platforms, word of mouth. A lot of it is through family members. It's very fascinating on that part. We have seen multiple generations come to us saying, you've changed our entire family dynamic. My sister got vouchers from you. She told me to go get vouchers. I got vouchers, and then we made our mom go get vouchers. And now the way that we communicate as a family has completely changed. And I think for us, it's a lot of word of mouth. It's marketing. And as much as we want to shout it from the rooftops what we do, we also understand that therapy is still considered a luxury item. And a lot of our participants, sadly, are having to choose between 1 week's worth of groceries versus 1 hour of therapy session. And we don't want anyone to ever feel that way. And if someone is feeling that moment, the nice thing is that even if you can't get the therapy vouchers from us, if our cohort is closed or anything like that, you can still go onto our website and go onto our National Therapy Directory resource page. And no matter where you are in the United States, there's a resource you could be able to find on top of additional resources, because I'm going to say something very taboo, Carol, which is therapy is not for everyone. What works for me doesn't necessarily work for you. The organization, yes, is to destigmatize mental wellness and therapy in general, but it's also to give folks the tips and the tools and to curate, because there's so many resources out there, but curate what is available out there and allow people to be able to learn how to use those tools and pick which tools works best for them.
Yeah. You've mentioned multiple times about creating generational shift and growth. When people think about mental health and therapy, it's like, oh, I've got this immediate problem. I can't get a job and try to get a relationship, etc. But you've got even a broader view. Where did that come from? And why is therapy so important as a accelerant for, generational success?
It really comes down to my own past experience, to be fully transparent with you. I have lost both of my parents at different phases of my life. I lost my mom to pancreatic cancer when I was 19 years old, and I was going into my sophomore year of college when she passed.
I'm sorry.
And thank you. But I didn't go to therapy. And the way that I grieved for my mom was very different than the way I grieved for my dad when I actually did go to therapy and had those tools. And knowing that I had those tools, it made the grief even easier. It allowed me to process it. It allowed me to be gentle with myself. And I think one of the things I think a lot of us struggle with is just being gentle with yourself. And I think that's what I've learned through therapy.
So the therapy fund, the vouchers, is like the heart of what you do. And then you have these great directories. And I assume the directories are for the whole country. So so you've invested in creating those, but you also support your therapists. And that is another part of your secret sauce. So if you could explain that part, because it's creating this and a wellness in your whole ecosystem per se.
Yes, and thank you for asking about it. It's one of our programs we're really proud of. It has evolved again through the input that we've had from therapists. One of the things we realized was that during the pandemic, when we thought that was the height that we were going to see in terms of folks coming to us, we noticed we had this vast network of folks. The imaginary lines that were up before were down. So now that if someone's in California, they could see a therapist in Florida. It was beautiful. But what we also realized a year ago after the pandemic, around 2021 going into 2022, we started getting emails from therapists saying, hey, I'm feeling really burnt out. I'm going to be taking a 1-year sabbatical. I don't know if I'll be coming back, but I'll let you know. And then we started realizing our numbers started going down. As a team, we all sat together and I was like, there's a problem and we got to figure out the solution. Because if we lose all of our therapists, and there's already not enough therapists registered in the United States already, and if we start losing the current ones that we don't have a program. At a certain point, we're going to be doing more harm to our participants than good, is we're telling them, come get therapy, and then you can't find a therapist. So with that, we asked our therapist, hey, we're noticing a lot of you are burning out. What can we do to support you? And such simple things that it made me feel like, why hadn't anyone thought to do this before? The number one thing was, hey, can we get therapy sessions too? Because the healers need healing as well. We hold a lot. Great for us to be able to have therapy sessions also. So we offer therapy sessions to our therapists. The other thing was group therapy session. They said there's something about healing in numbers, being able to hear other people talk about what they're going through. And we said, okay, let's make that happen. So we do that. We offer up group therapy sessions to our therapists. The other thing they said, hey, Shar, continuing ed programs are really expensive. And some of us are still getting our clinical hours completed. If you're able to offer us these clinical hours or these continuing ed programs at a reduced rate, if not for free, that would save us significant burden financially. And we said, great, we now know what we got to do. We will go forward and make these partnerships and bring it to you. Yeah, well over 5,000 active therapists in our network. And we've trained over 9,000 therapists within our network. And it's something that we're really proud of because one of the things we've been able to do, and we've seen it through our data, is increase the numbers of therapists versus the decreasing that we were seeing before. Because one of the things people don't talk about is that burnout takes about 2 to 3 years for that to really fully recover from and have your body fully recover from it.
Ah, okay. And then you do some fun things. Talk a little bit about Camp Loveland, because I think that's surprising that you even do that.
Yes, we have something called Camp Loveland. It is a biannual event. It's our first event actually was last year. And it is a time that we invite BIPOC therapists within our network to come and frolic and enjoy and take a moment to just kind of network with each other, have fun with each other, have a moment to just breathe. But also, there's something about not being in isolation and feeling like you don't have to truly fully explain yourself to folks when you're amongst folks who understand what you're already dealing with. There's something about it that just brings a lot of ease. So for me, one of the things we've realized is that our therapists work real hard when it comes to Q4. Q3, Q4. As we're going into the holidays, some years we will cover close to $2 million within the 7 weeks leading up to the holidays
Mm.
because folks are feeling the anxiety of holidays. Holidays, a lot of emotions and feelings for folks, and our therapists take on a lot. According to statistics, BIPOC therapists are supposed to handle well over 600 participants. That's a lot. That's truly a lot. So for us, it's understanding how do we sprinkle in the moments of joy so that they're feeling like they're getting reset instead of, as they told me, and these are direct quotes from our therapists who have said to me, Sharlene, it is so nice that you didn't just give us a stress ball.
And tell a story. You told me this story about some of the fun things that they did that created lots of excitement. Can you tell one of those stories?
Oh,
The camp story.
camp source, it's been one of the things I always say. My favorite thing at Camp Loveland is waking up in the morning and falling asleep. Sounds really weird, but I'll tell you why. Waking up in the morning, there's nothing more magical than hearing folks, grown folks, laughing and screaming as they're going down the cold plunge slide into the lake in the morning time. There's something about hearing people's inner joy that makes yes, that you feel and going to bed at night, seeing folks in their little different camp spots with their little fire pits, having these amazing, deep conversations, but it's also the giggling. It's
Yeah,
the
the
giggling.
giggling. That's lovely.
For me, that's the joy. And I think that's what we all want. Those moments when you can just giggle so hard, your stomach hurts, your face hurts, and you just feel like, I'm grateful for this moment.
Okay, so mental health today. What recommendation do you have to our listeners, especially a company who said, boy, this is a great organization. I want to partner with them. But others who are, it's a little bit of like mental health washing. But how do you know as a company that the organization they may partner with is the real deal?
I think it really comes down to mission alignment. That's the number one thing I say to folks. If the company mission doesn't really align with the nonprofit mission, it's not going to work. And your audience is able to pick up on it immediately.
Okay, I want to give a shout out to your current partners because it's always nice to mention them. So, do you want to mention some of your current partners?
Yes, we are fortunate enough that we've had partners like Ollie, like UGG, we've had Teva, we've had, Hoka, we've had a couple of other large Maybelline, Sony.
So, that leads us to the major challenge that we all have right now regarding DE&I and current administration and the executive order day one, et cetera, caused a lot of companies to terminate roles and terminate programs. What are you seeing?
There's a mixture of both. There's fear. There's a lot of fear behind it. And I think one of the things that people always ask me is like, Char, how are you coping with this current environment? And one of the things that I always said to folks was, one, again, every situation we're in, it's like a pendulum. Everything swings one way and then it swings the other way. Right now, I know we're on this side where it just seems like it may be doom scroll. No one's ever going to support DEI. I don't believe that. I do think there will be a change and there will be another swing. And I have to have that hope. But in the meantime, right now, what we are seeing is that we've lost well over 2.5 million in corporate partnerships in money because some of them are being sued. And some of them were afraid that if we continue to support Shushar, we may be targeted or seen as not upholding the current administration's stance on DEI programs. The wonderful thing about technology is that we have these amazing platforms that lets you know what charities are doing great, where the money is going, that you as an individual can go in and type in the causes or things that you care about and find out, hey, where do they rate? How do I impact it? And I think that's where I'm having joy, is having this conversation with folks where I'm like, if you've ever wanted to make a name for yourself or a dent or have some form of saying, I actually tangibly was able to create XYZ change, now is the time to do it. And the fun part about it is you're not going to get penalized for it.
Let's turn to the promotion and the amplification of your cause or others, which is the whole rise in creators and influencers.
I think you can use influencers and folks who have a large platform in strategic ways. And I say this in like, not everyone should have a platform also. I'm a firm believer in this, but I do think that there are certain people who have an amazing ability to get people to listen. And that was something I learned in MTV, where it was amazing hearing, I had Snoop Dogg have a whole conversation, like we did a sex ed with Snoop Dogg once. And I sit there and tell kids it's important to wrap it up. This is the reason why, but they're not going to listen to me the same way as if Snoop Dogg is telling you, hey, this is the reasons why STD rates are going up. They're more willing to absorb it. And then I always say it's also making sure that that person is truly, really aligned with your mission, but also making sure that nothing they do in the future may come back and bite you also.
Yeah, smart. We've got a fair amount of our listeners are early stage, mid stage professionals. And they're sitting there going, wow, Shar is like amazing. Boy, is she inspiring. But she was in the Peace Corps, and then she was at Ben & Jerry's and Burton and Viacom. She's had a lot of great experience since to start her own thing. What advice do you want to give to young people saying, I really want to bring my values to my work. I don't want to leave them at the door working for the man or the woman. What advice do you have today? Because it's not that easy to get a job.
It is not. But what I will say is my best advice is never limit yourself. I think sometimes we think we need to fit into this particular box. And sometimes when we limit ourselves to that box, we're closing doors. So I always tell folks, don't limit yourself. Allow yourself the opportunities that maybe you didn't think that would be aligned with you. Try it. You never know. It may actually align with you.
So we're unfortunately winding down here, but I'm going to bring you back in the future because you are you're so fab. We do these rapid fire questions. And so you're not supposed to overthink them. So let's just start with, what's one word that best describes your work?
Sustainable.
What keeps you hopeful on the days that this work feels heavy? And it can.
My son. He's 8.
What's one lesson you've learned from your work that you couldn't have learned anywhere else?
Oh, the importance of listening.
Yeah, and then you started out with that, so that's great. What's one small action people can take today to advance purpose or create impact in their own communities?
Practice investing in causes that are like that you care about. I think that's one of the things I always try and instill in my little one. So I always say, practice that art, add that line item in, and practice the art of actually investing in causes that align with your cause.
That's great. And then last, if you could leave our listeners and viewers with one idea or feeling today, what would that be?
Hope. I want them to have hope, because I think if we don't have hope, then there's no form of action. But if you have hope, you want to be active. You want there to be some form of an actionable step. So for me, hope. I want everyone to still have hope.
Okay, that's beautiful. So I always give the last word, and thank you. You did a great job in the lightning round. Really super. But the last, I'm giving the mic over to you. I mean, what haven't we said, or what would you like to emphasize again that we can leave with our listeners? Because it's been a great conversation.
Thank you so much for having me, Carol. I would say the biggest thing I really want to leave on is the foundation is doing some amazing work, but we've got a lot more to do. And one of our things truly is our goal is that we feel that if we could reimagine this mental health system that we're currently in, and if we're focusing on the particular demographic, which is Black women, we really do believe that we can be able to create a more equitable one for everyone. Because at the end of the day, that's really our biggest hope and goal. And as an organization, one of the things we've seen in the last year and a half is we have hit one of our goals, which was we wanted to destigmatize mental wellness. The reason why we know we hit those goals is based on the thousands upon thousands of folks who come to our website weekly and where they go on our website weekly. And it's a beautiful thing to see. But also one of the things that no one's really talking about, and I'm so happy you're giving me this opportunity to talk about this, is that currently right now, there are well over 600,000 Black women who are unemployed and are still unemployed. And a lot of them are coming to our organization for therapy support. We are in a time where back to school is about to happen. Folks are still dealing with summer camps. Any way that folks could be able to support our organization, whether it is $5 and joining our Abundance Collective, which is our monthly giving program, it truly does have a significant impact. I always like to tell people, philanthropy should be the gift that keeps on giving. And with the Loveland Foundation, please understand that the dollar that you donate to the organization, 80% of that dollar goes directly into our programming cost. The other thing that we're really proud of is that the money that we are spending for our therapy sessions, yes, we are providing support for those who are needing therapy support, but we are also providing economic mobility for Black.
Yes, to your therapist, for sure.
And it's a beautiful thing to see. But on top of that, we're also working on increasing those numbers of therapists through a scholarship program, because those clinical hours are not paid for. And those are the ones folks really need supported.
That's beautiful. So on that, I want to thank you, Sharlene. You have not disappointed. When I first met, I'm even more in love with you than when I first met you. And you're going to be a great friend of Carol Cohn on Purpose and Purpose 360. You are addressing an entire ecosystem of women and Black women. And it's not just, I'm going to give you therapy. It's all of these different elements that you're supporting. So, I know you're called the joy guru, but I almost, the generational joy guru, maybe we'll give you a bigger name. But thank you for coming on the show. And I know we'll have you back.
Thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure, honor. Thank you again.
This podcast was brought to you by some amazing people, and I'd love to thank them. Ann Hundertmark and Kristen Kenny at Carol Cohn on Purpose, Pete Wright and Andy Nelson, our crack production team at True Story FM, and you, our listener. Please rate and rank us, because we really want to be as high as possible as one of the top business podcasts available, so that we can continue exploring together the importance and the activation of authentic purpose. Thanks so much for listening.